was going to ask you first how you're doing in lockdown, and also have you found any solace in any entertainment, any movies, any TV shows that you've kind of taken to while you've been locked down?
I've been watching, so I rewatched Succession because I loved Succession. I thought it was amazing. So I rewatched that. Been watching a lot. I've been watching a lot of kind of old Al Pacino films as well. Dog Day Afternoon is one of my favorite films, so I went back
Amazing.
and watched that because I love that film. And then what else did I watch recently? Boys Don't Cry, Hilary Swank. I watched that film, and I've been watching a lot of documentaries. I also watched. I'd never seen Dairy Girls, and I went and I watched Dairy Girls. I'd never seen it before, and it's I think it's brilliant. It's really really good. So I went and I watched that. What else have I been watching? I watched Normal People, but I'm in it, so I guess that doesn't really count as something that I found. But yeah, that's probably Succession's probably the one that I really committed to in terms of a TV series, because I found that I've kind of been like dipping in and out of loads of different kind of films, and also there's a sketch comedy show called I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson that which I really have loved. I guess I've tried to mix between kind of more kind of lighthearted and hopeful kind of TV and film, and then some other maybe slightly pessimistic ones as well.
Yeah, I started Ozark finally, which everyone kept telling me was amazing, and I've blitzed through that quite quickly. So I've got, I think, a bit of season 2 and season 3 left to do. But also, same as you, I've been trying to find the hopeful stuff. So actually, I've spent a lot of time on YouTube watching old game shows. So like Bruce Forsyth game shows and like the Crystal Maze and stuff like that, just to keep me kind of occupied, because it's kind of lighthearted and you don't have to think about it too much. You know, you just put it on in the background and still work and everything else. But Ozark's been the big thing for me, and obviously I watch Normal People as well and a few other shows for like reviews and stuff. But Ozark was the one that I was told, right, I'm going to sit and watch it now. And within one episode, I was like, I'm hooked. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen Succession. That's on my list. I still haven't got around to seeing it yet. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It's so brilliant. Kieran Culkin is everyone is incredible in it, but Kieran Culkin is so brilliant in it. Do you find when you're watching something and then you're going to write a review in it, is it harder to enjoy it, or can you enjoy it kind of as much?
I think I do enjoy it the same. It's just I guess my headspace is slightly different, because you're having to write notes and you have to kind of, it depends really, because sometimes you can, when you're watching a film, when you're reviewing it, you have to kind of pay attention. Whereas if you were watching a film for the first time, whenever that might be, and you're just watching it because you want to see it, your brain can, you don't mind pausing it and coming back and whatever, especially at home at the moment. But with reviews and stuff, I think most of us tend to just try and watch it as best we can and then go off of that. But it's a strange, we're a lot of, myself included, a lot of my colleagues and friends in the industry and stuff are so desperate to go back to like screening rooms and stuff, so we can all sit together and watch a movie together, because it's nice to be in the moment. You put a film on, whatever the film is, whether it's a big movie, a small movie, whatever it is, big screening room, small screening room in Soho or something like that. The collective experience of going to the cinema, but also sitting with people that are watching it for reviews and stuff, and not looking at your phone for 2 hours. It's easier to look at your phone while you're watching a film at home than it is to watch in a screening room, because you get it's bad etiquette, isn't it? I hate people with phones in cinemas. Oh dear.
I know. Yeah,
I've
been at screenings of films that I'm in when people are on their phones, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, I can't stand it. Food I can kind of make my peace with, but phones are just a no-go for me. So it's tough to do at home. But obviously it's been locked down. It's been a bit strange, but you, in a strange way, have been quite busy. Obviously you've Dating Amber's coming out this week, and also you've been in that tiny show Normal People, which a few people have seen. But I'll ask you about I'll ask you about Dating Amber first, because it's a really, well, people don't know this, but we've already had a discussion, but I really enjoyed the movie, and it's this wonderful kind of platonic love story between these two friends who don't so much use each other, but they're able to find kind of their opposite in each other, and it helps them to kind of become the person that they want to be. For you as an actor, I can imagine there was a lot of reasons to get involved, but what was the kind of the key? Was it that relationship, or was it kind of the whole package that kind of intrigued you and you wanted to get involved with it?
Well, the moment I read the script, I just absolutely fell in love with everything about it, and I think that Dave is just so talented, um, and I was a fan of his first film, and then tonally that these are couldn't be further apart as well. Um, the Cured and Dating Amber, so entirely different. But it was one of those moments where like it's rare that this happens, but sometimes you just read something and you feel like I have to do this, and then you have to then convince lots of other people that you have to do it, and yeah. So I think it was the whole package. It was everything about it spoke to me, and did, I just felt like I just felt I'd be so lucky to be given this opportunity, and then luckily I was, and then but yeah, of course, at the heart of the film, I kind of look at the film as one, as like there's one central performance, and that's Eddie and Amber's relationship. Um, you know, it's absolutely a two-hander in that way, and Dave wants to find two people who could act like they were best friends, and then ended up with two people who are best friends. So yeah, no, but it was everything about it spoke to me, and it just yeah, it was a dream come true to actually be cast in it.
Yeah, you say that about obviously you and Lola together are fantastic as Amber and Eddie, and their relationship is so is so. And there's a few of these recently actually where there's been relationships where they're very sweet and that you can tell that there's a great friendship there, but also the narrative is such that it doesn't shy away from the fact that they're both living real lives. There potentially isn't going to be that happy ending that you kind of want for both of them. It's very much in a real world kind of scenario, if you like. I mean, did that intrigue you that it was that friendship, but also not to give anything away to the end of the film, but that both of them are hopeful, but they're still not quite sure whether life will be exactly what they want it to be?
Yeah, I think this like Eddie and Amber are absolutely each other's salvation, and they would not be um who they need to be or who they want to be if it wasn't for finding one another. And I think that particularly with Eddie, because Amber is comfortable with her sexuality, and being out doesn't seem like something that is other or kind of out of this world, but being out in Kildare in Ireland at that time is definitely not something she could ever imagine. Eddie has no idea who he is or what he could become because he's so strangled by that internal struggle. So I think yeah, but I, like you're saying, yeah, without giving too much away, the film is hopeful and optimistic and joyous, and it's a love letter to kids who needed to uh, escape to be themselves. And I think that and they both allowed each other to do that. And I think that it's really important, like we're talking about it being joyous and hopeful. It's really important to have queer stories framed with hope and optimism, because there was a time where the majority of films that were made around that subject were kind of inherently pessimistic and tragic. And of course that's a part of the queer experience, but it doesn't reflect all of it. So I think it was really important to Dave that this was a queer story that was framed in optimism and hope.
Yeah, and obviously you touched upon that the film obviously is set in the 90s, but the kind of the
Yeah.
themes and the stories, and as you say, the kind of the lives that these two characters live, also the people around them live. Even though it's 30 odd years ago, it still feels like it's a story and a narrative and things we're talking about that we're still talking about now that really shouldn't be. And obviously the world has changed a lot in the last few months for various different
Yeah.
reasons. There's lots of
Right.
things happening now that are just very scary and very very surreal in some way. But it gives it such a great framework, the 90s, in that as you say, you can tell the story in that time and see what people are dealing with, but also now it's very relevant because it's still something that we're talking about when we really shouldn't be. We should really have dealt with it.
Absolutely, I think so. Obviously the film is set in 1995 in a small town in Ireland, and it was only 2 years before the film is set that homosexuality was decriminalized in Ireland. So that setting is very important to the film. Having said that, you could set this film now in any small town in most places, and it would still be absolutely relevant. I think that there's sometimes a tendency for people to look at how far we've come and think that it's easy, when of course that's not the case at all. Um, Certainly, there's been a lot of progress made since the film, since the 90s when the film was made. There's been a lot of progress made, but there's a big difference between something being easy and something being easier. So although we've come a long way, I think there's still a long way to go yet.
And obviously, Eddie, we'll come to Normal People and Jamie in a minute, but Eddie's obviously very different to the character you play in Normal People. But I just wondered, what was it that drew you to him? Because he's he's quite shy and reserved, whereas Jamie's kind of the opposite in some ways. But I just wonder for you as an actor, what what it was about him, and how much you enjoy kind of mixing it up, going from one character that's someone like Jamie and then someone like Eddie, who are very, very different. But it must be great as an actor to be able to dip your toe into different things at different times.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's something, like I feel so lucky to have been given that opportunity to play such different characters, and that's something that I'd love to do. I always I always find that I usually have kind of a an immediate reaction to a script of like I really want to do this, and so I'd never really choose to play a character unless it was that I really care about them and feel strongly about them. And yeah, and these two characters are so different. I suppose with Eddie, like there's so much of myself and Eddie, and we had such a long rehearsal process that Lola and I got to bring a lot of our own friendship to Eddie and Amber, and hopefully that comes across on the screen. But I think that yeah, as soon as I read it, I just knew that I'd kill to play that part. And yeah, and like I said, I mean, I would thankfully say I'm a lot more like Eddie than I am like Jamie in Normal People. But I guess when it came to Jamie, I heard that Element and Lenny were adapting Sally's book, and I went out. I'd seen something on, like, it was one of the trades or something like that, and I went out and I bought the book and I read it. Like crossing my fingers, being like, please let there be something in here that I can do. And I found Jamie, and although it's probably not a character that would jump out at most people, I saw, because I suppose the character's a lot smaller in the book as well than he is in the show. It kind of grew, but I just read it and I was like, oh my god, I know those people. I like, there was so many people I knew growing up that were like Jamie, and I knew exactly how I do it, and what I'd want to do. And bearing in mind, this is before I even knew if I was going to be able to audition for it. I had no idea if I was even going to be seen for it, or even if they were holding auditions, or if all these parts were just going to be offered. Anyway, I recorded voice notes on my phone, and then like recorded little pieces on my phone of like me improvising as the character, trying to like think of how I would play it and stuff like that. So then when the auditions came round, I had a pretty good idea in my head of what I was going to try and bring to it. And thankfully they saw me for that part, because it could have easily been me for months being like, I'd love to play this part, and then them being like, no, because I guess on paper I'm not someone who you'd expect maybe from reading the book to play that. But yeah, and I guess with Eddie and sorry, I'm rambling here, but I guess with Eddie and Jamie, the one through line there is, although they're so different, um, they're both um, they're both extremely anxious and extremely insecure. And what they're anxious about and insecure about are two very different things, and how they mask that is very different. But if there was a through line between them, it would be high levels of anxiety and insecurity.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, how have you taken to? I mean, talk about Normal People. I mean, it's been such a it's a strange scenario for it to be in, because obviously for TV shows you get to obviously see the show and then you get to talk to people about it and maybe go on the chat shows, or meet the fans,
Yeah.
and obviously you've not been able to do a lot of that. So a lot of your interaction with them and a lot of the reaction to the show has been online. So how have you taken to the fact that it's been so well received, and that
Yeah.
uh, Paul and Daisy, and then you guys as well, all together, just it must shock you in some ways to think, my God, this is actually maybe even bigger than we even anticipated.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, we were all so blown away by the reaction, because you know, like we all went in. Everyone who worked on that show was were such massive fans of the book, and we, of course, just wanted to make something that um, people would love as much as we loved the book, and as much as fans of the book. You know, we wanted to please fans of the book, and you never, I guess, you never think of how people or how big something will be, and then we were all certainly so blown away by how big it became, and yeah, it's amazing. I mean, we all we were all really proud of it, but you could never anticipate a reaction like that, because like if someone had told me that that was going to be the reaction when we were making, I probably would have been terrified. But yeah, it's a really amazing thing, and I think yeah, it's obviously a very unique thing because you get to interact with people online, and then the only other interaction you get is like when you're 6 feet apart in Tesco, like queuing up, and someone's like, "Oh, are you in the show?" And you're like, "Yeah," but like. But yeah, so it's been mad, and also I guess for me then, you know, obviously Jamie's an antagonist, and there was an expectation that people weren't going to love Jamie, but I don't think again any of us anticipated like the vitriol that people have for Jamie. But it's a really thrilling thing, you know, like for to have people react to a character like that, um, be it love or hate, for people to feel so strongly about a character is something that really excites me. So yeah, no, we're all thrilled, and like as much as we haven't been able to celebrate in person, we have WhatsApp groups and everything else that everything gets sent into. But yeah, it was literally every day that it would go on, we were all pinching ourselves at someone else who'd tweeted about it or something else that we'd read about it. So yeah, we're all thrilled.
Yeah, I guess also in the 21st century, you can gauge success of a show when there's Facebook and Twitter and Instagram pages set up for, you know, we hate Jamie or something like that, or Connell's neck chain
Right.
I saw on Graham Norton recently. All these strange things that just is the epitome of when you've hit big, that people are doing stuff like that.
I know, it's mad. Like I think some of the comments about Jamie are slightly unfair. I know I've seen. I saw one that was like, there's been actually there's the one that the most common one I've seen is saying that Jamie's worse than King Joffrey, which is insane that that's even a comparison. But I'm not in the interest of defending Jamie in any way, but he's definitely objectively not as bad as King Joffrey. I mean, one that I think I've seen a lot of as well is that there's a meme um that's like my plans, and then a picture of like Marianne Connell, and then 2020 and a picture of Jamie. So there's been a lot of like that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Like you said, in the kind of like time that we live in now, you can really judge how many people are watching and stuff by the sheer amount of things that you're reading online.
Yeah, for sure. Well, obviously, it's been very busy for you, and you're still going to be. You've been busy again. You've gone from Normal People to Dating Amber, and then you've just gone and made a movie with Tom Holland and the Russo brothers after the mega success of all things Avengers. How was the film's called Cherry? I mean, how did you enjoy that experience working with Tom, working with the Russos? Because I can imagine that was again very, very different to what you've done before.
Yeah, really different. It was really different, and it was again one of those moments where I was pinching myself, being a massive fan of Joe and Anthony, and also of Tom, and yeah, it was incredible, and just being on that set and watching how they work, and um, uh, a lot of the team actually that they bring with them worked on the Avengers and their other films, and yeah, there not a day went by where I wouldn't learn something else. And I find that about being on set in general, but that was really one of those times where like just watching them work was fascinating, and the way they work, and um yeah, they're such incredible filmmakers, and they work with such synergy as well. It's just amazing to watch. Um and then like I remember even like when I sent off my tape, even the thought of them watching it was like that, it was blowing my mind. So then when I actually got offered it, I was like, oh my god, this is uh crazy. And then Tom, of course, is a massive fan of Tom, and he's so brilliant, and he's brilliant in everything he does. Um and this is so different from anything he's done. I think he's talked about that this is so different from anything that he's done, and I think he is going to be phenomenal in the film. I think he's going to be really, really amazing.
Fantastic. And just on a final word then for dating Amber, obviously it comes out this week. What would you say to people if they're scrolling through their Amazon and they come across it? What would you say that they can expect from the film?
I think I would hope that they would laugh. I really hope they'd laugh. I think that it's full of joy, and it's full of hope and optimism, and we're in a time that I think we could all do with a little bit of hope and joy and optimism. So yeah, I'd say that's what they can expect, but definitely laughs. I think they'd laugh. I hope you laughed. Did you laugh?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was very, very funny. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay, cool. Well, yeah, I'd hope that they all those things, and I think that and also it's a romantic comedy with the arc completely flipped, and I think that it's a love story about friendship, and I think that that's something that you don't really see very often. So I would say that's what they can expect. I also think everyone's really brilliant in it. I think Lola is incredible in it, and I think all of the supporting cast as well are so funny. That's what I'd say.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. No, it's great talking to you. And I wish you all the luck with the show, and maybe we'll cross paths again when Cherry finally is in a cinema somewhere.
Oh, I hope so. Thank you so much.
No worries. You're very welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey You